Welcome back to Random Cardinal of the Week. I'm Jim Plaza. Be sure to check out Redbird Rundown and Viva Alberto's for the most in-depth coverage of the St. Louis Cardinals, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. COVID was a strange time for everyone. Daily routines changed, schools shut down, sports just disappeared. And for baseball, it was something the game hadn't experienced in decades. On March 16th, 2020, Major League Baseball announced that the season would be postponed indefinitely. The first time games had been halted like that since 9/11. No opening day in March, no normal spring training, no certainty about what would come next. The Cardinals were even scheduled to play a series in London against the Chicago Cubs that season. That didn't happen. The draft was pushed back, schedules were rewritten, and for months, everyone just waited. And when baseball finally returned in July, it didn't really feel like baseball. A shortened 60-game season, empty stadiums, constant COVID testing. Players and coaches wearing masks in the dugout, and sometimes even on the field. Some players, like Cardinals pitcher Jordan Hicks, chose to opt out entirely. Others tried to play through a season that felt completely unfamiliar. Even stars weren't immune. Players like Paul Goldschmidt effectively lost more than half a season during what should have been one of the prime years of his career. And across the league, results were really unpredictable. Some established players struggled to find any rhythm at all. Others had career best stretches in the smallest sample sizes imaginable. It was a season people remember, but often wish they could forget. But even in a season full of uncertainty, every team had its bright spots. For the Cardinals in 2020, one of those came from a player many fans may have forgotten. A veteran, a former top prospect, a true utility player. A guy who only appeared in 48 games for the team, but made them count. Today's Random Cardinal of the Week is infielder Brad Miller. Brad Miller was born on October 18th, 1989 in Orlando, Florida. Like a lot of future big leaguers, he started early, playing Little League before starring at Olympia High School as a shortstop. He was drafted by the Texas Rangers in 2008, but chose college instead and headed to Clemson. And that decision ultimately paid off. By his junior year, Miller had established himself as one of the top shortstops in college baseball. He also represented the United States internationally, twice. In 2011, the Seattle Mariners selected him in the second round of the draft. And from the beginning, he hit. In 2012, in his first professional season, Miller combined to hit .334 with 15 home runs between Single-A and Double-A. The following year, he hit .356 in Triple-A over 26 games. That performance earned him a spot in the Futures game, which he ultimately never played in, and shortly after, a call to the majors. Miller made his big league debut on June 28th, 2013 against the Chicago Cubs. He went 0 for 3 but picked up his first RBI in a fielder's choice and stole a base. 2 days later, he recorded his first major league hit, a double off of former Cardinal Edwin Jackson. And from there, things took off. At one point in July, he was named American League Player of the Week. He finished his rookie season hitting .265 with 8 home runs in 76 games. Like many young players, though, consistency ultimately was a challenge. He struggled in 2014, but rebounded in 2015 in more of a super utility Ben Zobrist type role, hitting .258 with 11 home runs. And then came a major turning point. In November 2015, Miller was traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. And in 2016, everything seemed to click, at least offensively. He hit 30 home runs and drove in 81 runs, showcasing the power that teams had always believed was there. But once again, the game had other plans. Injuries limited him in 2017 and 2018, and over those 2 seasons combined, he appeared in just 158 games. In June of 2018, he was designated for assignment, traded to Milwaukee, released again a month later. And then came hip surgery that offseason. At that point, Miller's career was at a crossroads. In 2019, he bounced around. minor league deals with the Dodgers, then the Yankees, then time with Cleveland, and finally he landed with the Philadelphia Phillies. And quietly, something started to come back. He regained his power late in the season, hitting 3 multi-home run games over a 9-game stretch. He also played 4 different positions, and that combination of power and versatility ultimately caught the attention of a familiar team. The Cardinals had been watching. They had interest in Miller throughout 2019, but couldn't quite find room on the roster. Miller, for his part, was interested too, and he said that he wanted to play for a contender. He wanted opportunity. And finally, in February of 2020, it happened. The Cardinals signed Brad Miller to a 1-year, $2 million contract. On paper, it made sense. The Cardinals had a strong core. Paul Goldschmidt at first, Colton Wong and Paul DeYoung up the middle, Matt Carpenter at third, and an outfield of Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Dexter Fowler. They were coming off an NL Central title in 2019, but they had lost Marcell Ozuna and his power bat. They needed someone who could replace that production. They also had something new working in their favor that year. For the first time, MLB rosters would expand to 26 players, an extra spot. The perfect opportunity for a versatile player like Brad Miller. And then everything stopped. March 16th, 2020. The season paused and uncertainty took over. When baseball finally resumed in July, it came with major changes. A 60-game schedule, expanded playoffs with 16 teams, doubleheaders, limited travel, and for the first time ever in a National League season, a universal designated hitter. That last change would matter for this story quite a bit. The Cardinals opened their season on July 24th against the Pirates, but Brad Miller wasn't there. He was dealing with bursitis in his right ankle, and it wasn't until August 15th, nearly a month into the season, that he made his Cardinals debut. Game 2 of a doubleheader against the Chicago White Sox. Starting at third base, batting 5th, wearing number 15, no batting gloves. In the 5th inning, he picked up his first hit as a Cardinal off of reliever Evan Marshall. In the 7th, he drove in his first run with a sacrifice fly off of another former Random Cardinal, Steve Cishek. He would finish 1 for 3 in a 6-3 win. And then the power showed up. Over his first 8 games with the Cardinals, Miller hit .421. On August 17th against the Cubs, he launched 2 home runs in his first appearance as a DH for the Cardinals. And by the end of August, he was hitting .281 with a .924 OPS. He became a fixture in that lineup. September started even hotter. On September 1st against the Reds, Miller went 4 for 6 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. The next day, 2 more hits and another home run. By September 5th, his average had climbed to .307. In a season where consistency was hard to find, Miller had become one of the Cardinals' most reliable bats. But the shortened season would catch up with him. Pitchers adjusted, strikeouts increased, the power cooled. He had just 5 extra base hits for the rest of the month, and his average dropped to .232 by the season's end. Still, the overall numbers tell the story of his impact. In just 48 games, Brad Miller hit .232 with 7 home runs, tied for the team lead, 25 RBIs, tied for second on the team, 8 doubles, leading the team, and .807 OPS, second on the team, which was also good for a 121 WRC+, and nearly a 1 WAR, ranking on the top 5 of that roster, all in a season that lasted just 60 games. The Cardinals would make the postseason under the expanded format in 2020. They faced the San Diego Padres in a best-of-3 series, winning Game 1 and then dropping the next 2. Season over. Miller appeared in just 1 game in that postseason, Game 3, and went 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter. and it would ultimately be the only postseason at bat of his career. After 2020, Miller returned to Philadelphia. In 2021, he hit 20 home runs, including the 100th of his career. He signed with the Texas Rangers in 2022, but injuries limited him to just 108 games over 2 seasons. He spent time with the Padres organization in 2004 before ultimately being released. And in November of 2025, at age 35, Brad Miller officially retired from baseball. Today, he's still around the game and serves as a pre- and post-game analyst for the Rangers TV network. Brad Miller's time in St. Louis was brief, just 48 games. In a season that felt unlike anything before or since. But in that short stretch, he made an impact. He provided power behind Paul Goldschmidt and Tyler O'Neill. He gave Mike Schilt flexibility, playing second base, third base, shortstop, and designated hitter. And he delivered one of the most productive stretches of his career. We'll never know what a full 162-game season might have looked like for Brad Miller in 2020. But for those 2 months, in the middle of chaos, uncertainty, and a season that really didn't feel real, he gave the Cardinals exactly what they needed. Thank you again for listening. Make sure to check out all of the great content on Redbird Rundown and Viva Alberto's, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back next week with another forgotten name from Cardinals history, but until then, I'm Jim Plaza, and this has been Random Cardinal of the Week.